Good morning. Another chilly morning here. Wonderful city of Visalia. Yeah, frost. So let me show you. Neighbor's car. If you come closer, like this is what we're dealing with. Imagine that on tropical fruit trees. So last night I had placed a bowl of water here, and this is probably not the best position now that the sun's out and it's been warming it up. But I want to show you. Granted, again, this is fairly warm because the sun's been thawing it. But yeah, no, it got down to about 30 degrees this morning out here in the open data. However, when you come here, so out in the open, it's roughly 31 right now. However, when you come here in the in this densely planted jungle that I've got here, actually I'll show you. There is actually a couple of degrees differences. And you know what? To plants, a couple of degrees is life and death. So it is 34 right there in the middle of my front yard here. So just wanted to make a video today about what's needed if you want your trees to tropical fruit trees to survive in the Central Valley. What's needed is gonna be really putting your tree in the ground. That, from my experience, has been really one of the best ways of keeping your tropical fruit tree alive. So today I wanted to talk about the huge, massive benefits of putting a tree in the ground as opposed to container growing it. Expanding on why I believe, well, and it's from my personal experience, why I believe, if you want to give your tree the best opportunity to grow in the Central Valley's climate, our coasts are insane. It's sustained. That's the problem. Is our coasts are just sustained in that, generally right around 9, 10 o'clock the night before, and all the way till 6, 7 o'clock, it's gonna be in the 30s. So yeah, and tropical fruit trees they're not a big fan of our cold. More so, our summer is also just a bit too intense for many of these tropical fruit trees. But by putting them in the ground, there is just so much benefit to the tree, in that it really allows the tree to harden itself against our climate. It really provides the best growing condition possible for the tropical fruit trees. So one of the big benefits of putting trees in the ground really is, and I know I've covered this in the past, but it's actually going to be the mycorrhizal network, and the whole concept of the wood wide web. And this actually plays out in my yard. So essentially what that is deep underneath us, deep underneath where I'm standing, where the trees are, the roots of the trees are talking to one another. I know it sounds like fairy tale, but trust me, these trees, they talk to one another, not in the same context that you and I communicate, but they exchange nutrients and information. So focus on the nutrient part, okay? Being that these trees transfer nutrients back and forth via this mycorrhizal network. mycorrhizal being the fungus that's in the ground. And because, I mean, look at the amount of wood chip that I've got in here. So if you come here, this is really how much wood chip I've got. There's actually 2 stacks of bricks in here. This is the original brick, and then this is the one that's on top. So it is, I mean, look at it. That's one at a brick. So that's how much wood chip you see in the ground that I'm standing on. And the thing too is, by having all these wood chip here, this serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it insulates my trees from the frost. It keeps the roots of the systems nice and warm during the winter time. And during the summertime, it keeps the roots of the trees nice and cool. So it acts as a blanket in the wintertime and acts as a coolant during the summertime. But another reason why I've got so much wood chip underground is it also acts as food for the fungus that is underneath me. And those fungus, the mycorrhizal fungus, attaches themselves to the roots of all the trees here. And in doing so, it allows the trees to exchange nutrient between it and other trees. Because what happens is the fungus needs sugar, which it cannot naturally produce from breaking down the wood chip. It just can't do it. So it relies on the tree to provide it with sugar. And in return, the fungus provides the tree with nitrogen and other nutrients that a tree needs. I mean, granted, yeah, the tree can pick up the nutrients itself. However, just with the fungus that's already attached to the roots of the tree, it just makes it so much easier. So going back to this whole mycorrhizal fungus relationship that I'm referring to, this is what I mean by it actually plays out in my yard. These trees, okay, these trees that are in the ground, these mangoes that are in the ground, if you notice the angle of my house up there, basically because I live in a 2-story building, at any given time, about 3 or 4 months out of the year, because of the 2-story building, right where I'm standing, this section of the yard gets no sun at all. And yet, these guys are still okay. They're not great, but they are surviving. And that is because of this whole mycorrhizal network. Because these trees here, the more mature trees here are essentially helping to feed these trees. The trees over here that have no sunlight, that gets practically no sunlight, they're helping these guys out by giving them a lot of additional nutrient, because again, these guys at this section right here gets no sunlight at all. So trees share resources when possible. When you think about it, you and I actually do the same thing. Inside of us, inside every single human being, we have these beneficial bacteria that helps us to digest our food and overall basically keep us healthy. I mean, recently it was discovered that folks that aren't very healthy, they doctors can actually make them healthy by giving them, essentially transferring them the poop, the fecal matter. Sounds, yeah, that's basically what it is, from a good donor to the sick person, and that fixes the gut bacteria. I mean, it balances out the microbiome of the sick individual. And in many ways, I mean, the trees have an identical relationship with the fungus, in that I mean, yeah, without the fungus, really, I don't think a lot of my trees will make it here. So you've got you don't need to understand all this, but understanding it will allow you to take advantage of growing the trees here. So that's why, I mean, knowing that's the case, that's how I'm able to get away with putting trees where there's practically no sunlight for 3 4 months out of the year, and knowing full well that they still will be okay at the end of the day. So that being the case, well, actually, if you just come here really quick, so this is what I mean. It's not a perfect solution, okay? These guys, I mean, this is false damage, obviously, but I mean, it'd be so much better if these trees were in were getting some sunlight. Uh, like this mango right here. I mean, yeah, you see some spots here and there, but it's nothing compared to the other ones where it gets no sunlight at all. But at the same time, it is they're alive. They're not going downhill. Same with the Atamoya. I'm sorry, the Cherimoyas. I mean, these two Vietnamese Cherimoyas. I mean, again, it gets no sunlight for the past 2 months now. But yet, these other taller ones back here do get a lot of sunlight. And yeah, I'm telling you, without the assistance of these trees and nearby trees, there's just no way that these two trees are going to make it. So the trees help each other out. So that's one of the big benefits. And you've got a good fungus system in your yard when you see these mushrooms. I mean, the mushrooms are essentially the fruits of the fungus. When the conditions are right, fungus will produce these mushrooms, which that's how you've got a good micro biome system happening for your trees. So the sharing of resources and information is a big one for me. Another one too is the fact that when you have a tree in the ground, they they fare so much better during the cold just because the earth itself is emitting, it's radiating heat. So as the frost hits from above us, the earth is keeping the roots of the trees nice and warm compared to container grown trees where the roots might be like, if you look at this mango here, the roots are up here, which is exposed basically. I mean, so it's cooler. uh, the roots are cooler, well, colder during the winter time than it's buddy here, which are in the ground. So because of the geothermic effect of the earth, it keeps the trees that are in the ground much warmer. And another reason too is the fact that when you've got a tree in the ground, they're a bit more forgiving in that, because of the vastness of my yard, knowing that the trees share resources when possible, I don't really need to consistently feed them as much as if I were to say to feed a container grown tree. Like let's go back to this mango again. This mango tree, during the hot summertime, if I don't water it, it's probably not going to make it. So it is relying on me to consistently water it and also feed it. Same with this Inga here. If I don't consistently water this tree in the summertime or feed it, it's not going to be good. So with container trees, yeah, it's relying on you to take care of it. Whereas the trees in the ground, no, they are a bit more forgiving. Again, just because if I don't water my trees. You know, luckily for me, I'm surrounded by folks who have nice lush lawn, which takes up a lot of water. And my trees deep underneath us take some of the water. That is life. So another benefit of having trees in the ground is they're going to be so much larger compared to trees that are grown in containers. They do so much better. A good example is, let's go back to this Inga here. I mean, not a bad looking tree. It's a good sized tree in a 25-gallon container. It's been in this container for the past year and a half. I've got an identical tree in the front yard, which at the same time is planted in the ground at about the same time that I've got this tree in the container. And the one that's in the front yard is, I would guess, to be maybe 2-3 times larger than the tree that's in a container, because it's confined to this little space. Whereas the ones in the ground, yeah, I mean, it's able to, the root systems are able to reach far out and wide and suck up nutrients. So yeah, it's if you got the real estate, just put your tree in the ground. Just mind you, there are some considerations though, such as soil drainage, soil pH, soil aeration. Once you address all of that, your trees are gonna thank you. So yeah, just again, because of the size of my yard, which is fairly, I say, typical in the Central Valley. Our yards are kind of small compared to other places, but at the same time, we're able to grow a lot of them. The thing that I do too, which certainly helps, is crazy dense planting. I mean, the trees are just very close to each other, and I know that the trees will do well just because, again, they share sources back and forth. The smaller trees, the younger trees that can appreciate some help, the larger trees take care of them. So that's basically what I'm trying to emulate in my backyard, is the whole forest ecosystem that happens naturally out in the forest. And I think, to me, I mean, I've so far I've got a pretty good successful results. So anyhow, I'm just letting you know, just when possible, put your tree in the ground. Yeah, it really will. Your tree will thank you. All right, have a good afternoon.